Hello and welcome back to the channel. The fly we've got in the vise today is a pulling Griff, which is basically just a large version of a Griffith Gnat, but I use it mostly for pulling either across the top or just beneath the surface, similar to pulling a blob really, or something like that. It really does seem to generate a great response. Now the only difficulty you'll probably have with this fly is sourcing the hook that I use. It's a Drennan dry fly hook, which I believe has been out of production for some years now. This is in a size 10. It's got quite a heavy wire, but something like a Kamasan B175 would be about right. I've got some black UTC 70 thread. I'm going to first make a nice bed of thread along the shank. This is to enable the other materials to grip to it. I'm using a scalpel blade just to nick off the thread there. I do like using scalpel blades, as I've said before. They are cheap, but they're very sharp, so just be careful. So I'm just taking it just past the bend maybe, and I'll take the thread a little bit further past because I want this clump of grizzle fibres to sit on top of it and not twist round the shank. So I'll take a good clump of these, but lengthwise they're probably not as long as you'd expect really. They're quite short because it just seems to work better. It just seems to balance the fly out. So I've got a clump of these which I'm going to tie down quite tightly because I want a nice smooth underbody for the peacock. It doesn't really matter if I'm being honest, but I do prefer, to try and keep my flies pretty good looking really. They are a bit scruffy, some of them are, but they do catch fish. So I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm going to add some silver wire. This is very fine silver wire. You'll hardly see it when it's actually part of the dressing. It's used to trap the hackle more than anything else. Right, this is peacock herl, so I'm going to use 4 strands of this. It doesn't matter what type it is really. You can have these dyed ones these days, but I firmly believe it's the stripping motion of it going across or beneath the surface that really stimulates the trout. So I'm binding this down nice and tight now. I'm just taking a wrap underneath that clump because I want those fibres to sit out from the hook and not go around the bend. Now binding down the rest of the butts of the peacock herl, and I'm going to put a little bit of varnish on. This is quite a handy tip really. It helps strengthen the herl because peacock herl it's quite brittle really and quite easily damaged by the trout's teeth, so a bit of varnish does help. I don't like using super glue because you get these like white powdery residues coming through. So I don't twist the herl. I like it to poke out from the shank, and then I'm just winding this over. I've not really left myself enough room to get the peacock herl in, so I've just moved that out a bit, and I'm holding it up, the peacock herl. Sorry you can't see this very well. And I'm taking a careful wrap with my left hand and then finishing it off and just binding it down. Now if you see there, I'll just pull it a little bit while I'm cutting it. Okay, so I've got a grizzle hackle here. Now I try it for size, but what I do, I bend it round the body of the fly and not just where the thread is, because the body is bulkier. So I want this fibre to be a little bit shorter than you would do normally because I like it to sit in the water well. I don't like it sort of sitting on top of the water. I like it to sink in. Another reason why I use the heavier wire hook. So I'm binding this down because you'll find when you're using hackle in this way, they can be quite stiff and difficult to tie down. Now again, I'm probably not using as many turns on this hackle as I would do for a dry fly. I do like to just get this balance between the action of the hackles and the density of it so it can be pulled underneath. So I'm holding that hackle tip up. This is a genetic saddle cape that I've been using a feather from. And if you'll see, I'm just wriggling the silver wire through it. And that just helps me not trap the fibres quite so much. I'm pulling all of the hackle fibres back while I hold the silver tinsel in my fingers, and then I'll bind down that tightly, because remember, this silver wire is actually holding your hackle in place. I've just helicoptered the wire off to save you scissors again. And that little hackle stalk, which has been a bit of a problem, I've just bent it back to sort of try and weaken it a little bit as well. So we're getting near to the end of the fly now. I'm going to do a couple of whip finishes, because I like any flies that are tied for my clients, I like them to have that extra bit of security with an additional whip finish. I do hope you've enjoyed today's fly, and I do hope you tie a few, and please mention how you get on in the comments below. I found this a great fly. Sometimes it will take just on the top like a dry as normal, but I do find it for difficult fish, if you pull this just under the surface, it works really well. It'd be great if you could like and subscribe to my channel. It really does mean a lot, and it really helps the channel grow. It's free, of course, and that way, if you hit the notifications, you'll see one of these flies coming up every week. So just applying a bit of varnish there, and I've just got to nip that hackle off, which is almost impossible to show you in camera shot here, but just try and get as close as you can to the point where the hackle meets the silver wire. It doesn't matter too much with it, really. As I say, this fly is probably accounts still for about 30 or 40 fish a season, and I don't use it that often, but on its day it's a real killer, especially when buzzers are hatching it. But I've also had success at canis time as well. So give it a go, and that's it for now. Cheers, thank you, bye.